Welcome everybody to State of the Industry. It's a brand new channel we have on YouTube. Hope you guys like it. And we're bringing back a special host that I know everybody loves. Everybody loves Lycee. Yeah, so for the first interview we did, we brought on your dear friend Melissa, who was awesome. Great to meet her. We'd love to have her come back. Can't wait to do that. We do have future plans on how that's going to work out. Yes, but we wanted to dial it back and say, hey, we know Lycee for a long time. And we haven't really gotten her story on wax as to why she got into visual effects. So let's do that. Yeah, Lycee, so give us a little bit of your background of why you got into visual effects in the first place.
You were one of my first coworkers,
That is true.
like actual coworkers. So that's pretty rad, right? Like 15 years ago.
Yeah, that was wild. Yeah, everybody. When Lycee came into the studio, give a little story. Yeah, she came in right away. Thought, okay, this person means business. She's coming in, and I'm like the full time artist. I'm supposed to be supervising a group of interns that end up helping us out, and I was swamped. I was super busy, and she stepped up. She said, "Yo, Mike, I got this. I'm going to lead the team. I'm going to get this project done, and I'm going to take a load off of your back, and I got this."
And lo and behold, apparently that's ended up happening throughout my career personally, that just that emergent leader vibe. That's all I got. Go ahead.
We could take a step back. So what made you want to get into visual effects in the first place?
So back when I was in high school, I really enjoyed drawing people's portraits. I didn't consider myself an artist, didn't consider a career path as an artist at all, because I had never even considered that I would be able to go to college. I was first generation high school graduate, let alone first generation college graduate. So all of that, it didn't occur to me that you can make a living being an artist. It was just a hobby. So I went to Fullerton after high school. And after taking like 2 art classes in high school, I was told, you should go to school for this. You're very good. Okay. So I went to Fullerton Community College for like 6 years, and I floated. I had no idea what to do. I didn't have a lot of direction because none of my family obviously knew what college was all about. And a lot of them were not as supportive as far as, why are you going to college? Are you going to get an English major or a psychology major and then be a waiter? Like, what are you doing? So going to the community college gave me the option and freedom to try different things. And I kept gravitating toward art, fine arts to be specific. And for the first time in my adult life, I think I was 24, 25, I got a computer in my house. And I started taking my pictures and with my mouse and trying to trace them in Paint, that program Paint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then my best friend's cousin saw me doing that, and he's like, what are you doing? So he gave me a crack of Photoshop 7, and I played with that, and I would draw with my mouse on that, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I always remember a high school teacher drilling it into my head, you need to go to Otis. Go to Otis, you need to go to Otis. Well, every time I looked at this college, this very prestigious, very expensive private college, and we're talking $42K a year. So it was a very expensive process. I was like, I can't afford that. There's no way. But it still resonated with me. And I finally got to a point where I said, okay, if I don't transfer, I'm going to be a professional student here at the community college of Fullerton. So I started focusing on general ed and being able to transfer those credits over to Otis so that I didn't have to spend more or get more loans than I needed to, loans and grants. So I did all that. I was able to transfer some units and skip the first year. So I only went to Otis for the 3 years. I skipped foundation, and I did the same thing. I tried all of the different classes, and I loved all of the different classes. And in the media arts, And it occurred to me that the fine arts aspect was useful. It all carried over, it all translates. Not only does it all translate, but more than just the media arts and fine arts was theater. I minored in theater at Fullerton College as well. And that helped me in my leadership skills because I know how to talk to people. I'm perfectly comfortable being in front of 400 people, if not more. It doesn't go to waste. So I don't consider that 6 years in Fullerton to be a waste at all. I feel like the skills that I gained there didn't directly apply, but they did indirectly apply to the skills that I was going to need to be in this industry and to be in leadership positions like I have been. I ended up doing everything at Otis College. And even now, I'm on a path to be a visual effects supervisor because I do know the entire pipeline, because I have worked the entire pipeline in a production situation. So that is ultimately what got me into doing visual effects in general. And it wasn't planned. I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. Everything fell into place the way it was supposed to.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. Yeah. No, it's been great working with you. I've had the pleasure of working with you a couple times. Once was actually the first studio that I ever got into. And,
No kidding.
well, I became the only full-time artist there. I know you remember my buddy Henry working with me.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
got to
Yes.
meet one of my really good friends, who I'm actually going to bring on for a future interview, G.
G. I knew
Uh,
you were going to say G.
I mean, I have
You
to.
know, I worked with him. I worked with him at Encore, but it was his real name. And I had no idea who he was. And he's like, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I'm like, "Well, this is remote, yo. I'm looking at a picture. I have no idea who you are." And then he told me, and I was like, "Oh my God, now I feel like a stooge." That's perfect. Thanks, G.
That's crazy, because he even tell me that you guys work together again, so that's awesome.
It was a very short while. It was
Hmm.
maybe all of a month or two. And at the time I was running like 5 shows. So it was a
Oh.
little bit chaotic,
Hmm.
to say the least.
No, for sure.
But yeah,
Um,
no, I loved working with you. I thought you were more senior than that, because
n-
you have a very mild manner, and that is something that I've noticed the industry desperately needs. Some very nice and calm. It makes the whole office vibe.
yeah, no, I had to do that with my lead at that one studio a lot of us were at.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, he was always teetering on the edge. And I'd be like, dude, it's fine. Got it. Our
Yeah.
team, we kick ass at what we do, so don't stress about it. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, because these guys they keep wanting more numbers, higher turnaround. They keep wanting these guys to do more hours. And I'm like, yo, man, we got it covered. Don't worry about it. I think by that point, Jeremy became a second. And we were just chilling. You're like, like we don't have to sweat it. And yeah, we just had a cool vibe. I put on some music. We had to work night shift one time, so I brought like a stack of Blu-rays.
Hey,
Best
cool.
Buy was close by, so I just got like some cheap Blu-ray player, and we just hooked up to a monitor that was never being used. They had these screens all around the studio that was supposed to be highlighting work, giving
Yeah.
dailies, and
Yeah.
they were trying to be efficient, but these things were on all the time, and they were playing nothing. So I'm like, all right, we're just gonna hook up a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch some movies while working this night shift.
Sometimes that actually helps me stay focused sometimes, is to throw a
Hmm.
movie on, especially if I'm getting really antsy. Because you want to constantly move, but if there's a
Hmm.
movie on in the background, especially if you're doing that kind of work, putting on a movie in the background keeps your mind placated.
No, it definitely helps because sometimes what we do is doing the same thing day in, day out. So to have something that kind of stimulates you in the background and helps you, you need breaks. We kind of urge to keep at our desk and work constantly.
Hmm.
And we had a very strong, like, family team energy to it.
Yeah.
Because, you spend so much time working late nights together that it's just different. It's a different type of relationship
Yeah.
than you have sometimes with even your own family, because these people see you way more often than your family ever does.
Which is sad. That's one thing that I do plan on keeping well managed is time so that we can
Mm.
have work life balance. Because I'm sorry, I love you guys, but I want to see my kids. Yeah.
Yeah, work-life balance. I mean, it's funny because I posted a clip a few weeks ago, and it was on the session we did when I brought up that Netflix show, about the Blue Zones, and that was probably like the highest viewed I ever had on the channel, just because that was the hashtag work-life balance, and that's something that I guess
Yeah.
everyone's trying to find for themselves and realize, like, no, that's important. Some people tell you, who cares about seeing your kids and family as long as you make the money? And it's like, no,
No,
that's not as important.
that cannot be our future. It can't. Yeah, no,
Yeah, and I guess it
because
goes
it's
with
a
that.
vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle because our
Mm-hmm.
kids are going to grow up and they're going to say, well, I never saw my parents, so I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
work. So I want to see my kids. And then they don't work.
Yeah, or you just feed into it and you think like, well, that's the way it goes. Like, who cares?
Mm-mm.
Being an actual parent. As long as you make money. But where I wanted to get into, where I've been asking a lot of people, is we had the strikes and the pandemic. So basically, looking into how did that affect you and your ability to find
Yeah,
work.
it for sure affected me. I was one of the lucky ones though. I got to work up until about 6 months ago, and then uh, huh, all hell broke loose. And it's interesting because that's the nature of our industry, right? You do a great job on a show, and they go, okay, thank you very much and have a good life. There's no security when it comes to visual effects.
Hmm.
So I I just told my husband, you know what? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the industry's ever going to be the same. Let's figure something else out. So many things running through my head. I had no idea what to do because all I've ever been was an artist. I mean, I suppose I could have gone back and gotten my hairdresser's license, but to be honest, I didn't want to get stuck in that again. I still, to this day, have clients that will call me to see if I'm doing hair. And I quit hair in 2008.
Oh, wow.
So it's one of those lifelong commitments. And to get into that again and to go through the whole process of trying to get a clientele again. And if I were going to put as much focus on doing hair, then I needed to just do hair, but I don't want to.
Hmm.
So I told my husband, okay, well, let's try an Etsy shop. So I made a whole bunch of jewelry and we tried to do like a booth, and he made a whole bunch of rosaries because he's really good at making rosaries.
Hmm.
And we tried to cater to the market of the group that we're already integrated with.
Hmm.
And we did a booth with my paintings, my dolls, and our jewelry and prints. And I think we sold 3 things that day. And it was nice. We made about 90 something dollars that day. But it was just clear that with the amount of work that went into it and the turnaround, it didn't make sense. Uh, and on Etsy, my most popular product on Etsy is fertilized eggs from my ducks and turkeys. So, as lucrative as that is, again, it's not a substitute, it's a supplement. So, now I have decided that if I can't work in the visual effects industry as a compositing supervisor, then I would go and be a VFX supervisor and help a startup company with their production side of life. And that has actually been such an amazing opportunity because the woman who is starting the company, her name is Kat Bloom. and she's starting the company. It's called Vault ABQ. And the amount of sponsorships that she already has is mind boggling, including Dolby Sound and Monster and Espora, which is like a science company out here. So she has a lot of sponsorship and support. And the way she's approaching it is like a business, not like, well, I could do this. I'm going to start a studio and do this myself. That's usually the mistake that I see is you'll see the very talented, very smart artist trying to start up these studios, and they have no idea the business aspect of it. And that is, in my very humble opinion, a huge majority of a successful business is having somebody who's from a family of entrepreneurs. They already own a brewery, a bed and breakfast, an electric company, and her whole family has been giving her excellent advice. She's put her money where her mouth is, and she's putting in a lot of work. So I came in and I'm like, I saw her website, and it seemed to be one of the studios in Albuquerque that was up and coming. So I messaged her and I said, hey, you're missing something on your website. Here's my demo reel. Here are my credentials. You're missing me. So she loved that, and now given me a percentage of the company. It's a small percentage, and I have the option to buy in, but I believe it. I believe it. I feel like this studio is going to do amazing things, and she is helping me with my passion project, which is a show. It's a reality competition show, which studios love because they don't cost a lot of money. And it would be loosely modeled after another show that's only produced in the UK called Portrait Artist of the Year. It's an art competition, kind of like they do with Face Off, only this would be with like different forms of art. You would have your portrait artists, your landscape artists, your graffiti artists, your abstract artists. And each season would focus on specifically those different categories. Installation artists, ready-made artists, like there are so many different division of artists, even to the point of AI artists. And the potential to branch out and make different competitions within the artist's realm is limitless, really. And I've already gotten a lot of support for the show. I already have a friend of mine who's asking to be one of the judges, and he's been in the industry over 40 years.
Wow.
He knows so many people that he can bring on to the show, because especially for the portrait art aspect of it, it would be bringing in celebrities to paint.
Oh, wow.
But I've gotten a lot of support, celebrity support as well. So that is the future of where I'm headed, because I just don't trust that the industry is going to stay here. It has been so volatile, and every job posting has either said, hey, you need to be a hybrid, which means come into the office sometimes and work from home the other times, or you need to be based here. You could work remotely, but you need to be in the UK. Well,
Yeah.
my thing is there is plenty of work locally in Albuquerque, from local stations, local businesses. They all need content. And I feel like this show, which I'm going to be calling Artist Spotlight, which I would love to have you on as a graffiti artist.
I don't do graffiti, but I am a huge advocate and fan of it for sure.
Awesome. So you could watch that season. That season is
Mm-hmm.
going to essentially be, so all of this is to try and bring people to Albuquerque, right? Try and bring people,
Mm.
tourism, money,
Mm-hmm.
because they still hold on to Breaking Bad, and that ended years ago. But they are
Mm-hmm.
so proud of that show and that it was filmed here. So how cool would it be to have another show that there's already a very robust artist pool here? So it would be really neat to show the culture of New Mexico, bring the show here, and with the graffiti art specifically, that show I plan on making a having it be a permanent installation that people can
Mm-hmm.
come to, like a park that
Mm.
people can come to and see the work. And I want to dedicate the park to my brother-in-law, who we recently lost to cancer. But he
Oh
was a
wow.
huge fan of graffiti art, and I think it would be very endearing to have that permanent installation and have his name on it and just bring awareness to skin cancer and the
Mm.
likes. So that's
Mm-hmm.
all I get.
No, that's amazing. It's great to see that. I think that's kind of where a lot of us are right now, is a lot of us felt kind of powerless in the situation and the current circumstances we find ourselves
Yeah.
in. So it's great to hear that you are saying, no, I'm going to take the power back for myself. I'm going to make things happen. You moved there and you thought, you know what? Let's bring some of the work and some of the industry here.
Yeah.
Why does it always have to be based in LA, New York, Atlanta? Why can't we have, New Mexico,
Well, I was
you know?
told too that New Mexico has such a large amount of money set aside
Mm,
in grants specifically for movies and film and things to be filmed here. They have a lot of
hmm
tax credits, a lot of grants. I don't know if this number is true, but what Kat said is there's about $70 million that is untapped
Wow.
in New Mexico alone.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I can take a percentage, like 1% of 70 million. I'm okay with that.
hmm That's wild. So I wonder why there's such a surplus. I feel like that'll probably be something we could explore later on a different channel as to how New Mexico is doing. And yeah, the fact that there's that much potential there in New Mexico is
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, because I think, like we mentioned earlier, like so many people keep going through the same avenues, the same paths, and why not do something different? People want different
yeah.
now. So that's great that you're contributing to that. And yeah, I can't wait to see the show.
Yes. There's things that I constantly tell myself. First
Hmm.
off, who is they? They, why not us? Why can't it be us? This
Hmm.
this elusive they. And number two, doing the same thing over and over again with the same results and expecting something different is the definition of insanity. It's not
Exactly.
working. I mean, how many years have we been in this, Mike? How many years have we been chasing a month to month? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. And I think that's why I'm looking at the podcast situation. I know it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort,
Mhm.
but I'm exploring it and I want to push it. But yeah, I think that was most of what we wanted to cover is pretty much where you're at now and where you saw the industry headed. And I think
Yeah.
you hit all that in one go. So,
Yeah. Yeah. The
as you
industry is
do,
headed in the same exact place, volatile and untrustworthy.
definitely, we love working with you and we'll definitely keep working with you in the future. And yeah, so that'll do it for this episode, everybody. Be sure to check in and tune in for the next one.